Hey, what's up everybody? This is Robert Arrington from Deer Meat for Dinner. If you're as serious as I am about bow fishing, check out Cajun Bow Fishing. No matter where you go or what you do, from the beginners all the way to the pro, Cajun makes stuff for everybody. Everything they make works. Compound bows, recurve bows, accessories, everything. They make it so easy to get dialed in so that every shot counts. I've been using Cajun for years, all over the place, down in Florida, across the Midwest, everywhere. Everywhere I go, it works because they make stuff that you can trust. Be sure to check out Cajun Bow Fishing to see their full lineup.
Late night bites with friends? Already hard to beat. That first too hot bite of fries you couldn't wait for, followed by ice cold Pepsi. Now that hits different. Suddenly, the energy kicks back in, the night goes longer, and the laughs don't stop. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
Every hunter has a place that keeps calling them back. For me, that's the Hawaiian island of Lanai. Lanai isn't the Hawaii most people imagine. It's rugged country, red dirt roads, steep volcanic ridges, dry grasslands, ironwood forests, relentless wind, and long hikes under the sun. It's beautiful, but it makes you earn every opportunity. What really makes the island special is the hunting. Axis deer were introduced from India in the 1800s, and Mouflon sheep were later brought to the island before eventually crossing with feral sheep. Today, Lanai offers one of the most unique public hunting opportunities in the country, where hunters can pursue both world-class axis deer and wild sheep through Hawaii's draw system. I've been lucky enough to hunt Lanai 3 times now, once for rifle sheep, once for archery deer, and most recently for archery sheep. Each trip has been completely different, and everyone has taught me something about the island. So today, we're going to dive into those 3 hunts, what went right, what went wrong, and why Lanai has become one of my favorite places to hunt.
And as someone who's never hunted Lanai before, I'm excited to hear just how your perspective kind of changed over those 3 trips, because it sounds like this island has kind of a way of humbling even experienced hunters like yourself.
Indeed.
Join Justin Townsend and the Harvesting Nature crew as they explore the world of cooking wild fish and game while sharing recipes, tips, tricks, and lessons learned from their pursuit of wild food. We sure hope you ate before the show, 'cause you're gonna leave hungry. This is the Wild Fish and Game Podcast.
So I think like one of the things out of the bat that kind of like makes Lanai different from every other place I've hunted is that, well, one, it's an island. So you think about like hunting in a lot of places, and the overarching thing is you travel there by car or by plane, and you kind of move around, and you've got this ability to do the hunting itself pretty easily because you get a good lay of the land. You've got a vehicle so you can travel and move, and then at the end of the day you pack up all your stuff and you drive home or you get on an airplane. So Lanai is not really different, but I would cross it with a bit of like remoteness that you get because of the fact that it's an island, and then there's limited availability of like supplies and things there because the island is what it is. It becomes more challenging because you have to almost think ahead. It's almost like a backcountry hunt sometimes, which is very interesting. But then it's very different because for me, I think one of the biggest parts has been solving logistics of like just getting there, of getting vehicles and things like that. And it's not as readily easy as it is. And then I guess I can go into a bit about the geography and history and stuff too of Lanai as well in a bit.
Mm-hmm. But it's funny, before you moved to Hawaii, we'd be at the pig camps, we'd be talking to friends, some of whom hunted there before and others who didn't. And whenever you said you were excited to hunt Lanai, everyone in the group would melt. And I think everyone would just be like, oh, I want to go there. Oh, I hunted there in the past. I'd love to go back. Why do you think hunters dream so much? Like, what draws people to Lanai as like this hunting destination?
I think it's a very unique hunt. One, because you're in Hawaii. Two, it's away from Oahu. So Oahu being kind of the main island where people are traveling in and out of because of Honolulu and like the international airport and like the military presence, and this is the most populated island. But Lanai is like 2 islands over, and it's much smaller, much less populated, and it's much more isolated. So when you go there, the way the island is set up, so half the island is owned by the state of Hawaii. So a big chunk of the island was owned, I think, by the Dole Corporation, and it was basically a giant plantation. And
like pineapples.
Pineapples. Yeah. So there's one main city there, Lanai City, and it's got very much like kind of an old world charm to it. The way the island is kind of like the peak of the mountain, probably dormant volcano or at some point whatever, is towards the center of the island, and everything kind of like tapers to the sea from there. And then on one side it like tapers all the way down on the north side, all the way down north and east side. It kind of tapers, let me get my directions right, northwest-ish side, it kind of like tapers all down to the sea and ends up in like beaches. And on the other side, it kind of goes all the way down in like cliffs and draws and stuff like that on the south side. There's like one small port that comes in and out. The roads are paved around in the city, and then the roads are paved like out. There's a Four Seasons resort. There's on the east side of the island, you can take the ferry over to Maui. There's stuff like that. So there's some infrastructure. So that side, the eastern side of the island, is mostly all private. There's like one hunting guide service that operates there, and then there's like some local permitting that allows you to hunt as residents. So it's a very interesting place, and it's very like country, while having this small little city. And then also people are like in and out because it's still pretty reliant on tourism. There's not really much agriculture going on, as there was like decades ago. So it's very like, it feels very old Hawaii, like when you're there. A lot of red dirt roads and stuff like that, and you're cruising around, but it's big open space.
That's cool. I could see a lot, like as an American, it gives you this exotic place to travel to that's still within your hunting regulations and all that kind of stuff. Like it's still American to a degree. However, I don't know if Hawaiians agree with that, but I think maybe allows you to go somewhere really exotic while still not having to deal with like another country's laws and gun laws and stuff like that, which would be another draw.
Yeah, I think you hit the airport here, Honolulu's your way in here, Maui or Big Island, like wherever you're flying into from the mainland, and then carrying your rifle and stuff, like all those things are pretty straightforward. You figure out the logistics of vehicles and place to stay and all that, and like you're essentially, you can do DIY or you can do guide service or whatever. So like it's definitely, and a lot of the big like popular hunters, they've all hunted there using the guide service, and you'll see pictures posted. Usually if there's pictures posted of axis deer by like some famous person and it's from Hawaii, it's generally from Axis, and there's like, they use the one outfitter. I think they're Pineapple Brothers. I'm not advertising for them because I don't know them, but like that's the fact. There's one guide service there, and usually if you see somebody famous, that's what they're doing. They're not doing what I've done, which is far more difficult and backbreaking.
Which brings me to my next question, actually. So as far as I know, you've been relatively unsuccessful on Lanai so far, and it sounds like it's a really steep learning curve. So like what makes you keep going back for more punishment if that's the case?
That is a very good question, Adam. I mean, I did find success on my first trip, and I think I'll tell you what keeps me like honestly going back, and this came through when I first moved to Hawaii, is that my goal while I'm here, and I still have like a couple years left until I may or may not be staying longer or leaving, is that my goal was to hunt on every island. Hunt species, in my mind I had like black-tailed deer on Kauai. I've got like pig and goat in mind for Oahu. It was axis and Mouflon in Lanai. Deer in Molokai, deer in Maui, and turkey on Big Island, and maybe some like Spanish goat or sheep there as well. Like those are kind of like the spread of the species, and I've done upland bird here in Oahu. I would like to do it on other islands as well. But I think Lanai, the Mouflon sheep there on Lanai is like particularly intriguing for me, and it's funny because we hunted axis deer back in Texas at the ranch when we were trying to do some film stuff. I didn't really like it because you're hunting high fence there, and I'm not generally a big fan of that. And so here, like, that axis deer was like, oh yeah, this is good. And plus, like, Hawaii has a hunting culture, but it's like it's smaller than in a lot of places, and it's very much like you have to kind of get into it and get to know people. Like, I've had success of like just asking people like, hey, can I come hunting with you, or like, hey, can you show me, or hey, will you talk about it? And people are generally open, but they're not like actively recruiting me as a hunter, especially me not coming from Hawaii. So I think
so there's a barrier of sorts.
Yeah. So Lanai's come up, and like each time the draws come open, you know, I like the first time for sheep, that was very much like we had just got here, and I was like, all right, I want a little break. I want to go over do it. It was rifle, and then I was like, oh, you know, archery seems really interesting. And actually, for axis deer in the spring, I put in for both rifle and for archery, and because I wanted to increase my chances, is like, oh, I'm gonna get an axis deer, and didn't really have good luck. And I won't say that's from the hunting aspect of it, and I'll explain a little bit later. And then, like, this most recent trip, it was going back over after sheep with a friend who wanted to get back into hunting, and I wanted to hunt with him. I was excited to do that, so and for us to hang out. And I was like, yeah, sure, like, whatever. I knew my success rate was probably much lower, but I also wanted to figure out, like, could I go back and do an archery hunt after going back and being successful with a rifle? And so, like, also too, I'd kind of tick that box. So technically, like, Lanai is like checked off my list because I hunted Mouflon sheep there. I was successful, and you know, and then did that. So yes.
Could you briefly describe axis in Mouflon for those, maybe someone in the Northeast who only ever sees whitetail? Like, what's the...
Yeah, so axis deer are, like I mentioned earlier, they're from India, and they are these, like, they're smaller than whitetail, but bigger than pronghorn, if that makes sense. Like, the males can get bigger. I would say probably, like, I don't know. They're deer. But they have spots. They keep spots generally year round. The males have like these longer, thinner antlers that it's kind of more, not like as giant as elk antlers, but like they kind of go back in a similar fashion.
They have pretty.
Yeah, very, very pretty. They're very like skittish too, and elusive. They'll bark a lot, which is interesting if they like see stuff, but they also like really rugged, dry terrain. It's kind of all weird. And then probably don't like the cold because they're from India, and they do well in Texas, and they do well here in Hawaii, which are places that don't usually get cold. Mouflon sheep, I believe, are from, I want to say, Cyprus.
Sounds like they fit right into the landscape you described.
Oh my gosh, yes. Corsica, Sardinia, and Cyprus, and parts of Western Asia. So they're Mediterranean in nature. Pair well with hummus.
There you
go. But they've got these cool, like, they're not quite as thick of horns as like our bighorn sheep that we see, and they kind of like go out wide, and they kind of come back in and have a little point. They do get some curls into them. They're generally like tannish and brownish. The males, the bigger they get, the darker they get, and it varies place to place. Like I've seen some very light ones here, but definitely the big males we saw would have big dark chests, and then like white booties. And yeah, very much sheep-like. They like, you know, the ridges. They can move up and down much easier than I can into like gullies and gulches, and yeah, they're just pretty resilient because holy smokes, I've seen it super dry in Lanai, and then this last time I've seen it, you know, well, not last time before, I've seen it super rainy, and they survive. So
it's like kind of what makes them hunting them so addictive, just the fact that they can be elusive and difficult to track down and keep on.
And I think so, and I meant to mention this earlier, is like also public hunting land availability in Hawaii isn't huge. Like there's tracts of land in Oahu, there's tracts of land on each island. Maui there is, but there's not as much of the access on that side. And so for me, that was it. If I wanted to hunt axis deer in Maui, you have to like get access to hunt it in Molokai. That I am not quite sure. I haven't explored that, and so that's the big thing. And for me, the first season really arriving here was the Mouflon sheep season on Lanai. So last year, that was like, oh, I'm going to go over and like hunt for Mouflon, but also scout for axis and like kind of learn the lay of the land, like figure out the logistics, which became a big challenge. And I keep saying that, but it really is. And then from there, like, I could branch out into Axis, which is exactly what I did. So that's one of the reasons I keep going back to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You said you did get a Mouflon in the beginning there. How would you describe the flavor? Is it like lamb or mutton?
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah,
straight up like lamb or goat. Like, it's very very bold flavors, very dark meat. And I shot a pretty young one, actually, because when you draw, you get 3 tags. You get a either sex, you get 2U, and then you get a non-typical, because they, like, any that have the weird horns, they want like gone. There's also like a youth season too. That's generally, the season opens with a youth season for, I think, archery and rifle, and then it goes into archery season, then it goes into black powder season, then it goes into the rifle season. Same for Axis too, the structure of it. And if it's something you want to watch out for, like, they pump out emails. Hawaii's really good about, hey, the drawing's coming up this date and this and that, and you put in for it. You do have to buy the license, I think, in order to put in for it. There's you have to send in an exemption for your hunter's ed card. Logistically, that's kind of that's the beginning. The flavor wise, they're pretty great. Their sheep are not big. Even the big males are big, but they're not giant. You're not going to get a ton of meat off of it. You get a lot of meat, but not huge amount. You're not
like a big buck or something.
Yeah, you're not just like a big whitetail buck. But no, I did a lot with it, exactly what you would think you would do with sheep or goat. I made Caribbean dishes, I made Mediterranean dishes, I made all these different things, and it was delicious. I really, really enjoyed it.
So for your first hunt, where you got that Mouflon sheep, you had just arrived to Hawaii. Had you been to Hawaii before that?
No.
So it was your first time.
I'd never been to Hawaii prior to moving here.
Okay, so you just show up. You had very little knowledge about it, but what were your expectations? What did you think you were going to run into out there?
I knew it was very dry. I pictured kind of the landscape here on the west side of Oahu, very dry, very much kind of Southern California, West Texas-y, and so was really keen on just kind of getting out. Plus, it was my first opportunity. We got here, I'd started work and been working on the house, and really needed the break and wanted the break. And so I also typically don't hunt a lot by myself. I like going hunting with other people, and this was one of my first sort of trips I was going to go solo. I was nervous about that, but I was also excited of this is a very solitude thing for me. I'm going to a new place. I'm going to very much focus and learn on how to do this and
really be present there.
Yeah. Outside of that, in looking at maps and stuff, I had some general idea. I think probably one of the biggest helps that I had was from the people that own the place where I stay, and she was just really phenomenal of talking to me on text because I had no idea, and she was recommending spots, and I'm just doing research online. There's not a lot online. I talked to natural resources about what should I expect? What should I do? And they were very helpful. There's kind of sheep all over in little pockets on the island, so you just got to kind of figure out how they go and move, and it's like anywhere else, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll typically give myself a 3 or 4 day ability to go in and survey the land, kind of hunt and scout. Probably won't find success on the first day or two, and then usually the third day is when I'll start to get closer to animals, and then usually the fourth day is some success comes through. I was very thankful because it did not happen that way. So I got there, and so it was very, very, very dry. We were in a major drought here in Hawaii. It was super dry. There was no real water anywhere. It wasn't raining. And I was hunting on the north side of the island, which is particularly arid. And I mentioned West Texas and Mars is this smashing of the geography there, because you got to think this is all lava runs and stuff like that. But what I didn't mention is there's on that particular side of the island, there are rocks, lava rocks everywhere. So everywhere you're walking, you're you're moving, your ankles twisting, you're carrying, a pack. My pack's generally just water and then that, and you're hitting early morning on this particular first hunt. So early morning, getting out, really trying to explore these different places and look for sign and look for things. That's the other thing. It's if you've hunted in dry climates before, existing signs all over because it never really goes away.
That's true.
So you have dry poop, you have tracks that have been there for weeks, so you don't really know. You're I don't know what's fresh from not fresh. It's not like it rained.
You didn't taste it?
Yeah.
That's how you tell, right?
Really, really hungry. Yeah, it was really just a lot of exploration, and so I think my first day, which is pretty typical, on my first afternoon, I think I put in like 12 miles or so in like two different spots, like trying to figure out things, because I flew in, gathered all my stuff, and then like kind of immediately went out and tried to get like a lay of the land. And Robin had made some suggestions for me of places to go. She was like, try up top here. And so I tried kind of up on the top of the mountain, didn't really find success. So then I later hunted down on the bottom of the mountain because apparently the sheep push from the top down and then kind of work their way the reverse back up in the evening. And so I was kind of hanging out towards the bottom and did the same thing and moving around. It's just like, it's also heavy brush and thorny, nasty stuff everywhere. So you get to kind of like guide all that, and you're trying to be quiet and like all this different stuff. So it's lots and lots. And the sun. Yeah. The sun is terribly brutal. It's hot. You're like wind chapped and sunburned. Finally ended up later on, like for my later hunts, like from now when I hunt in Hawaii, I just wear, you go to Walmart here and they've got like these cotton, I don't know, tri-fabric, whatever, like blaze orange shirts construction workers wear, but like with a hood on it. And the hood saves me. Yeah, because the back of my neck just got scorched. And then you're getting blasted in the face by the wind and water, of course. I would probably go through, like each time I would go out, I would go through like 2 liters of water because you're just walking around and moving and still fighting like not drinking enough water and sweating and all that. So yeah, it's exciting. It's fun. It's hard, but also too, one of the coolest things I will say is Hawaii doesn't really have snakes. So this was a landscape where you would expect to see like rattlesnakes and all kinds of nasty stuff. There's none. And so you just kind of like, you just wander around carelessly. Well, not carelessly, because you got to be careful of the terrain. And that was one of my biggest fears, was like getting into a gulch and slipping and falling and like being out there by myself and kind of, so I was definitely nervous about that. But
it's always one thing when hunting in a brand new area that you're not used to, like all the weird hidden dangers that locals will know about, they probably not even think about them anymore. Like snakes or mountain lions or bears or snap freezes in the mountains or flash floods, or even like in Ontario, there's some places where the public land, we call it crown land here, but where people who've lived there for generations feel like they own it. And if you go hunt it, they'll slash your tires and stuff. And there's places you don't go hunt, but you don't know that coming into it,
That was a concern of mine too, of like leaving gear in the vehicle and parking, and like, I'm renting vehicles from local, so I wasn't really worried about it because there's only so much to go on the island, and it's like very small, and so it's like you have to get cars shipped in and stuff. So like if they see a car, they know whose car it is. Like, oh, they're renting from what's his name, and so that part, definitely like getting stuck in places, because everything outside the main city minus a couple roads is all dirt roads, and so you're like, if this rainstorm comes through, like I get stuck. That wasn't as much of a concern for me from like the first trip, just really because it was so dry. So I did find success on the morning of my last day, which I think I spent one full day of hunting. I flew in, spent one full day of hunting. I really had a short trip, and I wasn't expecting much. I just wanted to really get out. I wasn't even expecting to find sheep, but in the conversation with Robin, she was like, all right, you started at the top, you didn't see any. You started at the bottom, you saw some, but you didn't get an opportunity to shoot. She's like cut the middle. Like drive down the road, park in the middle, and like go halfway through. She was, what happens, the hunters push them down, and if you get there in the morning early enough, you'll see. And so like I'm bebopping along, and I was decided I was gonna go. This is my like mental 1 mile rule. There's a particular part in public lands, and it doesn't matter where you are, the distance just changes. There's a spot. It'll be like an exact spot. When you find the spot, you can draw a line in the road and come back to that spot again, and it's the same. It's like for me, it's usually the 1 mile rule, because the average hunter is not going to push in past 1 mile, and so if you go past that 1 mile, you're like now in new territory. Yeah, and the animals, depending on the late part of the season, whatever, like that distance changes. But like in Lanai, it was 1 mile. I was like, I dropped my pin. I was like, all right, I'm going to go in 1 mile and like sit and glass these ridges, see like kind of what's moving around and all that. And so that's exactly what I did.
And that's kind of where either you're going to shoot something in the parking lot or 1 mile past the...
So I went in this 1 mile, and it played out exactly as like Robin said. Like the first thing I noticed I noticed some movement, and I was like, oh cool, there's sheep over there on this next ridge. And so like I work my way over the ridge, and I get kind of close. I get close-ish, I'll say like 150 yards or so, and the sheep have not picked me up yet, but I'm still watching them. And then I see up above them a little higher in the ridge, there's 2 hunters, and they're kind of like pushing them down. And I was like, okay, cool. They're like, I can see them looking for the sheep, but they're in a position where the sheep can't see them. And so I'm like waving to them like, hey, there's sheep like right there at like 50 yards. And then they like get in a position and like bump the sheep. And so I was like, all right, whatever. So I was like, I'm going to keep going this way, like keep going in my regular route that I planned to make it to my marker. And so I go down this gulch, which these gulch are super steep. They're probably like, you drop an elevation, I wouldn't say 100 feet, maybe 40, 50 feet to go down in one and come back up. And so I come back up. And as I come back up, I'm walking probably like 60 yards or so after coming out of the gulch. I see a sheep staring at me, and I'm like, oh, God, there's a sheep right there. And I'm like, okay, so I see this sheep, and yeah, that's that.
There you go.
It was like 35 yards, and there were 2. One was a younger ram, and the other was what I thought was a ewe. And so I was like, I've got, like I mentioned in the tag breakdown earlier, I've got two ewe tags and a either sex. So I'll take the ewe because the other one's a little younger ram, and bigger ram, more meat. So I was like, I'll just take the ewe first. That way, if something else happens, whatever, if the ram hangs around, I have a follow-on shot, like all this stuff. So like all these things are going through my mind. And so I shoot the ewe and get up and realize this ewe is in fact a young hornless ram.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, meh, meh. But so I checked my either sex tag, which is fine because I only had like, I think the afternoon to hunt, and then I was headed back that evening home. So like I went back, processed. I think it was the next day, early in the morning, I was flying out. So I hunted that like evening in a couple different spots, and then like processed the sheep back at the cabin and stuff like that. And like, yeah. I mean, that was like my first one. I think I did not realize how beat up I would be. Like my body was sore, and I had this very interesting thing happen. So I've been wearing the same backcountry boots for probably like 5 or 6 years. I got them back when we hunted bear in Oregon a while ago, and I really liked them. Very dependable. They're still really great shoes, but I started wearing different types of shoes, those like wide box shoes in DC, if you remember seeing me like in those. So I think my foot like flattened out and got wider over the year, and my mountain boots were a bit narrow. And so my feet would just hurt at the end of the day. And it's funny because then both times when I went back to Lanai, I switched back to the wide box shoes, and it was so much better. Oh my gosh. But yeah, my feet were like tingly for like a day afterwards. It was so weird coming back. But you never, that's something you never think about too, because there wasn't another place on the island I could go buy.
You can't just go buy some nice hunting boots.
Yeah.
I find the work boots often come in like wide because I have very wide feet.
Yeah.
I can always find steel toe work boots in wide, but hunting boots are way more difficult for some reason. They really like I find narrow kind of designs.
Yeah.
I gotta spread because I keep buying boots and they're awful in the end. Gotta look at them. Anyways, before moving on to your second hunt, is there anything you would tell someone else who's going to Lanai for their first hunt? What advice would you give them?
My one piece of advice is expect the terrain to be worse than you think it's going to be. Expect to see less animals than you think you are. And make sure you have a lock on logistics, on vehicle and food and all that stuff. Before you get there, don't show up and expect to like go to the Hertz rental counter and rent a vehicle because there's not one. So figure out everything before you get there.
That's good advice. Let's got a long walk.
Yeah. Well, lodging too. There's no place to camp on the island. Oh. And they're very like open and clear about that. So like you need to find lodging, and there's like a network of people that will let hunters stay with them. That's harder to figure out. And then there's the 2 hotels, which are like there's like Lanai Hotel, and then there's the Four Seasons. So you can imagine they're not cheap places to stay. So
yeah.
Also too, like it's a good like family trip. Like if you wanted to take like a resort type vacation, like go with your family, let them hang out at the resort, and you go do hunting stuff. Like that's also a very viable option. There's also like once you get outside of hunting, there's not a lot to do in Lanai. Like there's like the city, but like a day and a half, you maxed out the whole island. Good. So just go to relax.
Hey, What's up, everybody? This is Robert Arrington from Deer Meat for Dinner. If you're as serious as I am about bow fishing, check out Cajun Bow Fishing. No matter where you go or what you do, from the beginners all the way to the pro, Cajun makes stuff for everybody. Everything they make works. Compound bows, recurve bows, accessories, everything. They make it so easy to get dialed in so that every shot counts. I've been using Cajun for years, all over the place, down Florida, across the Midwest, everywhere. Everywhere I go, it works because they make stuff that you can trust. Be sure to check out Cajun Bow Fishing to see their full lineup.
The perfect lunch combo. That first bite of your favorite sub, followed by ice-cold Pepsi. Add a couple of friends, and now that's next level. Suddenly, the laughs get louder, the stories keep flowing, and the food tastes better. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
Okay, so your second hunt, which is for Axis deer.
This was, it opened up, so like I said earlier, I had 2 tags. I had Axis archery and Axis rifle. This was the Axis deer. So if everybody remembers, I had yet to know this, but the Kona lows that hit Hawaii in the spring of this year, pretty brutal. We got dumped on a lot of rain, there's flooding, all that stuff. Well, the first weekend that those all kicked off, I was on scheduled to hunt Axis deer in Lanai. And I literally, like, this also too, like, I was much more confident going in because I was like, all right, I figured out logistics. I kind of know the lay of the land. I've seen and I've talked and I've researched and understand the Axis deer is a little easier than understanding the Mouflon sheep because I've hunted deer before. Like, I get it. And so I landed, I picked up my vehicle, I drove to the archery zone, which is like 5 minutes from the airport. I changed my clothes, like at the parked truck, from like my plain clothes into my camouflage, and got my bow out, picked a spot, walked in, sat on this little like knob of a hill looking down on the, I guess it would be like the western slope of the island, and within 30 minutes spotted deer. I was like, okay, cool, we're on it. And I spotted like a nice Axis buck and a couple doe with him, and I was like, all right, cool, let's go. So like I got in, moved into a position, and tried to work my way to them, but they were on the other side of the gulch. They bedded down under some trees. And so I'm watching these deer kind of feed. The big buck is just like fully bedded under this little tree. And they're like, if I came over the top of the ridge, I'd be like in perfect view of them. It's funny because in the background, I see like there's construction going on, probably like a half a mile away. There's like the road that goes down to the port, like all these things. I'm not far from where I just arrived. So I'm looking and studying the map, trying to figure out like, do I go back and come around the gully? The wind would not be in my favor because the wind primarily blows pretty steady from like north to south, and so you really have to play the wind. And so if I came around the north side and tried to get in, the wind would bump me. I don't know how far back I would have had to go around. I couldn't get in a good spot where I was to go down into the gully, cross the gully, because they had a good view down kind of the draw, and they would have seen me coming up and around. Like, there wasn't a lot of good places to move to try to get around them. And I think the width from the top of the ridge where I was at to, like, the part of the gully where they were bedded down was too far a distance. And initially, like, I'm not a predominant archery hunter, so I don't have, like, a lot of range. Like, now I would say probably, like, 50 yards is probably my max. And they were... When I first saw them, they were at 100. I managed to work my way in a little bit, and I closed it down to 70. But, like, it was a great stalk. I had fun. It was exciting seeing deer right out of the gate, but, like, I just was not in a comfortable spot to draw and shoot on this deer. So I was like, oh, well. I kind of bumped them a little bit. I found another couple, bumped some deer, moving around, kind of just exploring. Because, like I said, this is day one, so I'm in exploratory mode. And lots of fun going, just kind of, like, hunting around and checking things out. I really enjoyed it. The terrain there was different, much easier to get around. Still like gullies and draws and, you know, elevation and stuff, but not as many lava rocks, which was really, really key. Because you could move around easier. There were, you know, some pretty there were prominent trails where the deer were moving. There's sign everywhere still, but you're like, dang, this is deer country for sure. Like, they're here, they're moving around. That was the first day in the morning, and then in the afternoon I went to the same spot because I was like, there's deer here, and I just found a little spot and I set, and some deer came in on me. I had them at like 20 yards, and they knew something was there. They couldn't figure out exactly where I was, but there was a patch of trees. I was at like a very tip of a patch of trees, and they were like 25 yards over into a patch of trees, and they wouldn't come out of it. And the doe just sat there and just barked at me for like 30 minutes. It was like, bark, 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 like trying to figure out what was there. And eventually I had my bow drawn at points, like ready for them to come out. I was like behind this little tree. I was set up perfectly to shoot. Like, had they stepped out, I was just bloop, a little launch of an arrow, and I would have been good. But they never came out, and eventually just kind of like backed out and went on. And I woke up, closed out that day, really exploring some other places, just kind of seeing what my options were. And I knew there was a chance for weather, but I didn't really know what to expect. I had concerns because I'd been on the dirt roads before, and I was like, I don't really want to get too far in a place and get stuck and all this stuff. It started raining that night, and it was kind of just misty and hazy and foggy and a little bit of rain here and there. And it would be like raining in town, but out where I was hunting it wasn't raining, or vice versa. And so the next morning I got out there, and it was just this like haze. Visibility was not great. It was not an easy hunt, but I kind of went back to the same area, poked around a couple places. I think I bumped deer maybe like 3 or 4 times. I could not get into a good spot where I could get deer moving and set up. And there it's very similar, like the deer bed up middle of the day, and you're not really hunting all day long. It's not like pronghorn where you can just hunt and hunt. So I hunted that morning, and then it just started progressively getting worse. The rain and the weather and the rest of the day, and like visibility was shot. It was raining a lot. I then heard, and that was Saturday. Sunday it was supposed to get even worse, and that's when I was flying out. So I had concerns about it. I was maybe in a bit of a funk too, where I was not enjoying myself as much as I was, like, and I don't know why. I was on deer, I was seeing deer, I was like poking around, but I just wasn't feeling it. And maybe this was like something in the back of my mind of like some intuition. So I made a call that evening or afternoon. I was like, I'm going to call and change my flight back because I'm concerned I'm going to get stuck here on Sunday if the weather gets really, really worse. So I did. I called and changed my flight. And I'm at the airport waiting that evening. Like, I've said goodbye to the folks to stay with, to drop my rental car off and all that. And my flight gets canceled. Oh, no. The weather is so bad, the plane can't land. These are smaller planes. They're not like the big commercial planes. So they can't land because they can't see the runway. And so my flight gets canceled. So I have to like change everything, go back out. I get rescheduled for the first flight in the morning. I end up having to stay the night again, which there's nothing much to do. So I just kind of like go back and rest. And just like, man, what a challenge. And then that, like, the ferry to Maui also got canceled because the wind and sea between Maui and Lanai. So I couldn't even like take the ferry over to Maui, which has bigger planes, and catch the thing back. Like, I was legit stuck. And I was like, holy smokes, if this happens tomorrow, like, I'm going to be stuck on the island. It's too rainy, too wet to go hunting. I've sort of like done all the things. I would literally just be here biding my time waiting at the airport. And that's like, that was a very interesting feeling because you're like, this is truly island hunting. It's like a remoteness of like going in the backcountry and being somewhere and like, oh, we have to hike out 10 or 15 miles to get where we're going. Oh, we can't hike out because of X, Y, and Z. But also too, like, you can't just get in your truck and drive home. Mm-hmm. You're stuck there.
You're just stuck.
Yeah.
The weather dictates so much of that.
That ended up being the first of like the couple series of like Kona low storms that came through. I ended up getting home the next morning, which was great. I had like my flight first thing in the morning was the perfect weather window. I think they canceled all the flights after that.
So you might have got stuck there for
I could have been stuck there till Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, when the weather started to clear. Yeah. I would say in places like that, like very impactful thinking about weather and just like the availability of not the hunting. One, that's part of it, but even to the return, like what would I have done?
Yeah,
I would have had to call off of work. Like, it would have been very problematic. So I don't know. In Canada, weather can dictate a lot in hunting, right? So, like, how do you think, is there a comparison there, or?
Well, I know in the mountain hunting, which is similar to the Rockies in the States too, it's, you never know what's going to happen in the mountains, but I haven't done any mountain hunting myself. But in Ontario, the weather, like, it can swing like crazy. And I remember my buddy had a deer camp, and we went there one year, and hunting's in November, so it's usually like, just below freezing, hovering kind of autumn weather up there in November. And it dropped suddenly, and we got this snowstorm, and it was I think -4 or 5 Fahrenheit, which we weren't expecting. We were kind of in our fall hunting gear, and so we're just miserable, shivering. None of the animals weren't moving at all. We thought, well, at least there's snow, we can track them, but there's nothing moving in the woods. There's just freezing cold, and out of nowhere. And then the next year we went, it was the same week was 70 degrees, and we were slapping mosquitoes and sweating and ripping off our hunting jackets and stuff. It was just so hot. So, and that was the exact same spot, same week, one year to the next. So I find it's hard to prepare yourself for what you might need in these situations sometimes, because especially in the swing shoulder months or fall and spring, the weather can swing so unpredictably, and more so nowadays too. So, and a blizzard like that can get you stuck, can get you in trouble, can end you up in the ditch or whatever too. So it can get pretty dangerous up here with snow squalls and everything. But yeah, it's pretty different than Hawaii, I'd say, but you definitely, weather does dictate what you need and kind of the safety of your situation for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting too. And I mean, you're in the natural world, and you're just like, you're subject to nature.
Yeah.
And even I think hunting in between the islands, like, that's the same, just like anywhere else. Like this, we have this modern convenience of, our cars are more durable, our planes are better, our boats are safer, more or less. But it's still like, Mother Nature has their hands, which is funny because one of the guys that I took over for out here from work, his Lanai story was very much the same. He and his family traveled over to Lanai, and they were just going to do a day trip over there. So fly over, rent a Jeep, drive around, see all the sights, come back, drop the Jeep off. I think they had caught the ferry from Maui, and so they were flying back and forth from Maui, and take the ferry back over to Maui, fly back to Oahu, and he got stranded there. And it's like, his thing was, he didn't have the local connection I had with like lodging and stuff, so he had his family were almost forced to pay like Four Seasons rates, and there were 4 of them, and they're like, the only rooms we have hold like 2 people, so you're gonna have to like get 2 rooms. And he's like, I can't shell out like $2,000.
No.
So luckily he got a hookup, and they had a place to stay, but it was very much the same. Like the ferry canceled, the flight canceled, they were stuck on the island. Plan for that.
Plan for the unexpected. Nature wins every time, so you're not gonna win.
The perfect lunch combo. That first bite of your favorite sub, followed by ice-cold Pepsi. Add a couple of friends, and now that's next level. Suddenly, the laughs get louder, the stories keep flowing, and the food tastes better. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
This episode is brought to you by ChatGPT. Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. Have you guys heard about ChatGPT work? It's the new way to use ChatGPT for bigger multi-step projects. And when you need more than just answers, give ChatGPT work access to your apps and files, and it can create real work documents like spreadsheets, slides, and structured reports. Get started at chatgpt.com by selecting work mode, available on Plus and Pro plans.
Let's hit here a little bit on my final hunt, and this may be one of my final. I don't know if I'll go back to Lanai. I want to like definitely spend some time in other islands hunting. So we had 4 days of like archery hunting, and this was just this past summer. So still hot. Little different, little rain here and there, but still hot. I went with my friend from work, Corey, and we had never hunted together. Corey and I worked pretty close to each other, talked a lot about hunting. He had hunted in Colorado before, and so we were interested in going out and doing archery. So that's really the primary reason. Started doing some practicing and got out. Hunting with a partner, I really enjoy. and I've always enjoyed it. You know, growing up, that's what you did. You hunted with someone, either mentor or friends or whatever. So like I really enjoy that social aspect. And I wonder too, like as I reflect back on my axis deer hunt kind of in the spring, if that was one of the things, it was like I was like, I don't want to be by myself. Like I want to hang out with somebody. But there's that social aspect too that I really like. So I was excited to go hunting with Corey, and you know, we had a blast overall. I would say it was hotter because of the summer. It was much windier. We were facing huge gusting winds every day, which played into it for us a lot. The sun was beating. We managed to be better about it because I knew what to expect from my Mouflon sheep hunt before. I was like, but we still covered a lot of miles. But we focused on a different part of the island, which I had fun with, which was really great. And it's interesting because unlike my first mode, which was kind of like solitude, and I wanted to try to figure things out, I was just like, we'd see somebody at the coffee shop in camouflage, you knew they were hunting, and be like, hey, what are you seeing? What are you doing? People were there hunting axis deer, people were there hunting Mouflon sheep, like all this different stuff. So I was just talking to everybody and like understanding kind of, I had a good lay of the land mentally already. And so I was able to just kind of chat through that. And we got tipped off to what I call Sheep Road. And Sheep Road was this magical, mythical road that we were led to. Basically like, go to this road, drive down this many miles, this telephone pole, you're going to turn here, and you drive down, and like, they're everywhere. And I'll be damned. We did just that. And within the first like hour of... So the road goes down the ridges, and then on both sides there's these big, huge, like, gulches, valleys. I don't know, you'll hear me call them all different things as we talk to this podcast. But, like, we parked at the top and start walking down, and this thing probably drops, like, the road drops 1,000 feet in elevation from where we parked down to, like, toward the bottom. Not all the way to the bottom, but we primarily focused here for, like, our 3 days of hunting. And we saw sheep every day. I will say that. The first day we saw, and this was just the first like afternoon, I think. Morning, afternoon, yeah, ish. We saw probably 35 sheep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I think at one point, maybe more, because off on a far ridge, I saw a herd of like 20 ewes. So maybe closer to 50. The challenge is the distance, because now we're hunting archery. I think had we had a rifle, we would have each shot sheep within the first 15 minutes of being on Sheep Road. Like easy 100-yard shots, 150-yard shots, done. You know, the harder part would have been packing them out. But with the bow and with the wind, we had to play the wind a lot, and like closing the distance became very, very challenging. Also too, with Mouflon sheep themselves, this is their terrain, right? I'm a guest here. Their eyesight's pretty solid. They definitely live and play the terrain a lot, and they're moving kind of a lot unless they're bedded down, and they're bedded down in very secure spots where they have the advantage. And then there was a bit of hunting pressure. I would say we bumped into people here and there, like we'd see vehicles parked on the side of the road, and we'd have to kind of adjust plans, but it wasn't too bad. First true morning, our second day, we decided to go sit in the gulch of Sheep Road, where we were seeing all these sheep the day before and expecting to see more sheep, and had in fact that morning saw a few. So Corey got set up. I bumped down and set up on the opposite side of the gulch so I could kind of see him, he could see me. We could have different vantage points of sheep coming up and down the gulch in the morning as they're going to feed or drink water or whatever. And for those that have hunted with me know I'm not a sitter. I'm more of a wanderer. Whimsical wanderer in my hunting. So I lasted maybe like 45 minutes, and I told Corey, I'm like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go up this ridge behind me, and I'm going to go work a big giant circle kind of around. I want to explore. I want to see the terrain. I don't know what's back there. I'm sure there's sheep. And I know there's another gully, you know, probably, I think it was like a 3/4 of a mile or a mile away from where we were. And so I basically set off. The wind's coming, the direction I'm heading would have been, we'll say west, so the wind's coming northeast, so it's coming across me, so I'm trying to like cross cut the wind to kind of work back up into it, so it's pushing my scent down away from me, and I kind of like can curve to my right back into the wind and back to where Corey is. I get over into the next gulch, and like I'm like, there's gonna be sheep here. I know there's gonna be sheep because all the sheep we bumped were running this way. I have this little creep method. I learned this hunting pronghorn antelope, where you like find the little ridge and you like slowly creep over, you look, peek, back up, slowly creep over, peek, back up, and you kind of work the ridge lines like that till you see pockets of either deer or antelope or sheep in there. And so, man, I don't know what the hunting spirits must have been with me that morning, but like the exact first spot I hit on the ridge, like I'm creeping and look, nothing. Okay, creep, look a little further down the ridge, creep, look, boom, and like there's 3 sheep there, 3 like ewes feeding, and at like 80 yards. I'm like, all right, cool, I gotta close some distance. So like drop my pack, slide it off, like get my rangefinder in one hand, I get my bow ready, like notch the arrow, like all right, I'm gonna do a little stalk, getting a little closer, and I close down to like 60 yards, and I'm like, all right, now I'm starting to get closer to my comfort range. Good. They're like, I can't see them moving, but mentally I'm tracking like where they're moving, and so like I come over a little bit more to my left, because I'm thinking the wind too is cross-cutting me, remember? Pushing down that wind. I don't want them to get too far to my left because they're going to wind me. And so I keep working, peek up over, they're there, get a little closer. Now I'm within 50. All right, cool, I'm good. I'm in my comfort zone. I get hooked up with my release, ready to draw, pull back. They're not where I thought they were. They're not there. And I'm like, oh no. So I pop back down. I'm like, all right, cool. I look, so like work a little more to my left, maybe like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 steps. There's some rocks in front of me. I can't really see as well. Pop back up, find the first of the ewe, and they're exactly 50 yards, but kind of to my left. I would say if you're looking at the clock, it would be like 10 o'clock, which is the exact direction the wind is just plowing. And so I draw back, and I'm settling my pin. And right as I'm about to release, she goes, whew, and then they're gone up the hill. She winded me. So, but phenomenal stock, was super fun. Exactly predicted where I thought they'd be. I worked my way back up this ridge, or up this gully, bump a couple other sheep, and then I work my way back over to where Corey's at. I make this big loop, and I get over, I'm on the far side of the gulch, the same side I was on. He's sitting on the opposite side, and he's probably a couple hundred yards south of me. But I see this dot, because remember, all the dirt's red everywhere, and I see this white dot on this dirt bank, what we called like an island. There's like the gulch splits, and there's this little island, and we had seen sheep on that island, and actually had stalked some, tried to stalk some there and bumped them a little earlier the day before. So we knew they were there, but I look and I glass this nice, beautiful ram is just laid, feet underneath him. I forget what they call it, like when the cats lay like that.
Yeah. It's very lamb-like.
Yeah, like tucked under, like laying there, and he's just like kind of gazing out, like slowly closing his eyes. But I see like he's full curl, and I was like, all right, cool. He's got a darker front chest, like mature ram. And I'm like, all right, well, I want to put Corey on this because I think it would be fun. He's here getting back into hunting. This is a great opportunity. And backtrack by him, and I was like, hey man, we got to work our way back up the road. This is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to pop over this ridge. I think I've got a good idea of exactly where it's at. I marked him on X, like he's bedded down. We should be good. So we do exactly that. It plays out. Corey goes, crosses down in the gulch, gets on the far side, the little island facing me. We still can't see where the sheep is. And so I'm on the gulch kind of working my way back south, kind of parallel to him, and I'm watching, in case the sheep runs, comes up my side of the gulch, like I'll have a shot as well as like a backup. The bank of this little island, there's a little saddle in it, and the saddle is maybe like 5 yards deep and like 5 yards wide, and I know the dirt bank is on the other side of that. I don't know where the sheep is on that, and so Corey's like coming up, and he comes up on the left side of the saddle. Well, right before he came up on the left side of the saddle, I'm coming, and I catch view of the sheep, and the sheep catch view of me, and I'm at like probably 80 yards, and the sheep is looking at me, and then Corey like comes up, pops up, and he's like 5 yards away from the sheep, and the sheep like goes from looking at me to looking at Corey, and like, they're both like surprised, and I see the sheep jump up, and I see the sheep go, and I see Corey draw back, and then shoot, and then I just hear clack, clack, clack.
Yeah.
Like the arrow's gone. What happened to the wind at this point was blowing probably like 30 miles an hour. And so Corey made a 50-yard shot, and literally the wind just took it.
Just yanked his arrow out of the air.
Yeah, just yanked it. So he shot. I mean, he's shot as we were recanting this over and over. And, then you get in that spot where you're playing the story over and over and over in your mind of like, what can I do best and all that. And, we're talking through it, and yeah, he was just like, he was in line with the vitals perfectly, but the wind just pushed it right off to the left
Yeah.
And so that was like that was the highlight stock. We had some other good stocks in there, but like that was it. But man, oh man, it was a great trip. We had fun. We didn't come back with sheep, but I think we saw so many sheep. It restored my like love that the frustrations that I'd found in my single trip over there by myself, and it really realized I could dump a lot and go back to Lanai and hunt pretty easily. Like I've got fare comfortably under me, but I want to explore the other islands. I'm like, now I've got that taste again to be like, what's this unknown?
So what's next up for you? Like you're kind of done with Lanai for now.
I've got Kauai, which is the island to our west, northwest from Oahu. Kauai has blacktail population, blacktail deer. So I've got archery tags for that actually right here at my desk. And I'm waiting to hear back for rifle draw results. So I'll probably focus on rifle more. I think I'm going to take a break from archery, but I may, if I get the opportunity to go over and hunt archery, I'm still going to go.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think you got 3 different hunts, 3 different experiences, and like 3 different outcomes, right? One, I found success fairly early, which encouraged me to go back. The second, the weather was kind of like the part that happened. And the third, it's just like, I think once again, terrain, weather, new hunting tools and things like that. But I feel like each trip presented me with a new perspective on hunting on the islands. Like there were different challenges at different times, right? Ranging from understanding terrain and just exploring new stuff to like the weather, and then also just like there isn't always success, even though when there's sheep everywhere, distance, wind, you still have to be in good shape. Because I'll tell you, if you come hunting with me, we're gonna hike a lot. Like and it also comes back on me. Like I have to be in it because I will get frustrated myself if I'm not. Like I'm really tired today, I need to go rest. And so I don't know. Anything before we close out? That's kind of my Lanai experience.
Yeah, after being there 3 times, do you think that the island still has more to teach you, or do you think you're feeling pretty comfortable there?
I think I feel comfortable. I will not fall back on the fact that the island doesn't have anything else to teach me.
Yeah,
like
there's always something to learn.
Yeah, I expect lessons to be learned, and like even if it's beyond like personal discovery, there's still like loads to learn about hunting in Lanai. For sure.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing your stories. That was fun.
Yeah, we haven't done an episode like this for a while, but no, it was good. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks Adam for listening and asking me questions. We've never done an in-crew interview before, so this is a little fun and different. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Please punch that 5-star button. Leave us a review. Tell us we're doing right, or tell me to stop telling hunting stories and just talk more about food. Thanks everybody. Bye.
Hey, what's up everybody? This is Robert Arrington from Deer Meat for Dinner. If you're as serious as I am about bow fishing, check out Cajun Bow Fishing. No matter where you go or what you do, from the beginners all the way to the pro, Cajun makes stuff for everybody. Everything they make works. Compound bows, recurve bows, accessories, everything. They make it so easy to get dialed in so that every shot counts. I've been using Cajun for years, all over the place, down in Florida, across the Midwest, everywhere. Everywhere I go, it works because they make stuff that you can trust. Be sure to check out Cajun Bow Fishing to see their full lineup.
This episode is brought to you by ChatGPT. Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. Have you guys heard about ChatGPT work? It's the new way to use ChatGPT for bigger multi-step projects. And when you need more than just answers, give ChatGPT work access to your apps and files, and it can create real work documents like spreadsheets, slides, and structured reports. Get started at chatgpt.com by selecting work mode, available on Plus and Pro plans.